Welcome to Mind Your Matter. I'm Jody.
I'm Shannon, and let's get into the conversation.
So, we're having this conversation about a practice of doing nothing. Novel. Ah. And I was saying to Shannon, like the last couple of days, I've been like, what would it look like if I just put my phone down, don't have the TV on, no laptop, no meditation, just sitting. At first it was like, can I do it for 5 minutes? Can I sit for 5 minutes without reaching for something to activate my brain or activate this nonsense that likes to spin around in my head? Like, what would it look like? And the first day I did it for longer than 5 minutes. It was almost 10 and it felt great. So then the next day when I did it, I don't know, something happens whenever I get into that space. My body, I can sincerely feel my body go, oh, okay. Like, I don't know. So for me, it was just like this moment of realizing my body is legitimately craving doing nothing. But also, what I said to you was, we live in a day and age where we are so overstimulated all the time, everything constantly going off 24/7, incessantly, nonstop. This is why we have to talk about, or we don't have to, but this is why the conversation around nervous system regulation is so powerful. When people are really just talking about getting calm, they're
Right.
talking about calming down. Okay. That's what they're talking about because
We're
you're
talking about being okay with being still.
right.
Let's get okay with being still and call it nervous system regulation.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, it just becomes like this crazy buzzword that gets passed around when that's all people mean. And you and I were also talking about the fact that meditation gets used this way.
Mhm.
Go meditate so you can calm down. And it's like, well, I don't know what kind of meditations you're doing, but my meditations are not like do nothing. They're very activating in a way it's not the same as like being on your phone or anything, but you are engaging an aspect of yourself that's not at rest. It's not being, neutral. It's being active for sure. And
It's work.
yeah.
It's work. I'm like, I don't know what y'all are doing, but my meditations are work,
Mhm.
legit work.
Mhm. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like when you actually do nothing, no meditating, no keeping the mind occupied, no like, let me move my body, like literally nothing.
Uh,
I don't know. I actually am digging it.
It's a skill. In today's day and age, I think it's really a skill to be able to just sit um, quietly and be in the moment with nothing and no distractions and no all of that kind of stuff. And and I mean we will frequently use like be still and know that I am God about meditation. Um, I think that it's way more probably accurate to describe what you're talking about right now. This being and sitting and just seeing what arises from just sitting there.
I I've heard people say this in the past where it's like, let yourself get bored.
Mhm.
Let yourself be bored. And there was a time in my life where that sounded terrifying. Like letting myself be bored. No. Oh my gosh, I can't, Now in my life, I'm like, oh yes, that sounds delightful. What would boredom look like? Even you and I have been able to like spend time together and we'll get into so much conversation and there's all this like activation that happens when we're in the same space with each other. But then we can also be in the same space and be completely quiet and not even speaking, but we're just in the space. And it's like, it just feels so nice and relaxed. Both are phenomenal. Both are great. And so I think for me lately, it's just been like, gosh, what am I missing out on? And I mean, this is not FOMO. It's just like an internal asking, what am I missing out on by not letting myself literally sit in total just boredom, if that's what you want to call it, but it's just not being totally activated all the time, not having to answer an email, not having to, check the message or respond to this text, or even sometimes I just like to veg out like other people. I'll turn on something that I think is maybe binge worthy. It doesn't happen often, but from time to time, it's like, yeah, maybe there's some show I want to watch or whatever. Like none of that. What does it look like to just chill? Stare out into the world and be like observing and not having to do anything.
Yeah. You know what really happens when you start to do this, or what I have found? And this was a practice for me. I think I saw something on YouTube from, I think it was Brian Tracy. I want to say that's his name,
Okay.
the self-help guy. And
Mhm.
he was talking about how basically there isn't a problem in the world that can't be solved if you can sit for 30 minutes by yourself, like just off whatever. And I was like, I don't believe you. And I'm also going to try that. And so I did. I sort of made a practice out of it, and would just sit like for 30 minutes. And the first time that I did it, I set a timer on my phone and did 30 minutes and thought I would crawl out of my skin. Like, I was like, what do you mean? Like, this is, and I realized like how many stories, how much programming I had about sitting still and doing nothing. And I'm like, if you think that that programming is not intentional, because I think there's so much power. I think we reclaim so much of ourselves and our own power, our own presence, when we're able to just sit like that in silence. That, I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, we talk about this kind of stuff all the time. Like, mainstream, like normie people are starting to talk about how, like, oh, they got them screens for us to, pull our energy and distract us and whatever, all this kind of stuff. But when you say, okay, cool, so what happens when you unplug from all of that and just sit? And they're like, you know, we still want to get into that. And I had a conversation with somebody not that long ago about it, and she was like, oh, I know, but sitting is just so unproductive. And I'm like, that right there, that's the issue. That's the issue, is because we have been sold a really false bill of goods that says that if we're not up and actively engaged with something, that the time is wasted or the time is meaningless.
Mhm.
And that's the issue. That's the problem to me. And you're
Mhm.
right. And then at that point, if we never know what that feels like, because I want to, like, I even talk about like the people who that I know who meditate and will say, like, oh, I can't meditate because I just fall asleep, because everything in their life is like one chaotic thing after another, after another, after another. So it's like the moment that they get any kind of stillness, they're like, they're just out. They're literally just passed out. Right. And I'm like, that is some nervous system dysregulation. Like, do not get me wrong, when we talk about nervous system stuff, we don't think that it's not real. Like, we don't think that that nervous system dysregulation or dysfunction is not a thing. We've experienced it. We've watched people experience it. We know it's a real thing. It's just about what it looks like to get past that. I think that's where we part company, I guess, with the traditional nervous system people.
Well, and because what we've said too is like we can't sit here and now we're just hyper focused on, you know, regulation, which is, as we've said already, like just this be calm, like calm down, get calm again, get calm. That's what people mostly mean when they use that word. That's what they mostly mean when they talk about meditation. It's just like, that is not what that means. I do not think that means what you think it means. You know what I'm saying? It's like, um, calm is definitely choice. And yes, there are tools that you can use to bring yourself back into a more relaxed state, a more even place of breathing and your heart's pumping a little more coherently. All of that stuff is valuable and it has its place. And the reason that we have to have that conversation is because we've gotten ourselves all plugged in
Yeah.
to everything but ourselves.
Yeah.
And so it's like what you said, you unplug from all of that stuff, you call your energy back legitimately. You listen, not just from your technology, not just from the devices, not just from that, literally all the other crap that you are trying to power in your life and sustain. The people, the circumstances, like everything you're worried about, you're powering right now.
Yeah.
You're keeping it alive. You're keeping it pumping with electricity, with flow of energy so that it can be sustained. You're doing that. And so when you start to like just be like, nope, I call all of that back to me. I am going to maintain my agency. I'm going to maintain my own charge. And I'm going to be here in a space of just doing nothing. Like it's a whole new concept of do nothing and heal. You know what I mean? Your body already knows what to do. This is so funny. So Bo, today we were talking because he's had these little like lights popping up on his truck and like things coming up on the truck. And we're talking about it. And he's like, I've changed this on it and we've run this diagnostic and we thought we had it at this. He's like, I just don't want to keep throwing parts at this thing. Like, there's got to be some very simple fix here. Like, let's get to the root, essentially. We're laughing about that. And he says, you know, I noticed that this started happening after I started using this like fuel injector cleaner in the truck. And I said, that's so interesting. He's like, yeah. He's like, the truck has always just done so well. And he's like, I was doing some things to the car and he thought, I'll put this fuel injector cleaner in it. And I said, so it didn't have a problem. And then you added something to it. And now you have all these problems. I said, boy, oh boy, if that is not a clear picture of how everyone acts in this world, I don't know what is. It's like, I said, this is how I feel when I get online and I see people being like, man, I feel so great. I feel so alive. You know what? Let's take some protein powder. You know what? Let's take this new synthetic thing and put it in my body. I feel amazing. I bet I could feel even better if I just started drinking a green drink every day, or whatever the thing is. Let me pump this into my body. Let me add some supplements. I'm feeling so good, but you know what? I bet I could feel better. Let me do something to my body and my system. And I said, and then they create all of these challenges and issues for themselves because they started dosing themselves with all kinds of inorganic, non-essential things, honestly, when they were feeling great. Right. I understand there are people that don't feel great.
Great. Even if the things are great, the story that you have to believe in order to put something like that in, right? So say your green powder is the best thing like that God ever made. Okay, awesome. You're still telling a story about there being some sort of deficiency that could be better. That's the reality. That's the thing, is looking for the underlying story that you're really telling yourself. Because if you're running with something like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and you're fixing it, it's broke, right? In your subconscious mind, that's the story. It's broke. It's broken.
100%. And this was how our conversation went today because I said, isn't that so silly? Like, I feel amazing, but I could be better. I feel so good, but it could be better. It's just like, why can we not allow ourselves to take in the good? Why can we? It's like something in us goes, no, screw it up. Go screw it up because good, we can't do that. It's subconscious if that's where you want to go with it, but it's a story, it's a story of it's good, but it could be better, and it's like, what does that even look like? Or what does that mean really sincerely? What if I just let myself sit in the goodness?
Yeah, but then there's FOMO.
I know.
right? Like for the people who have that, I do not have that. My kids laugh all the time. They're like, my mom has JOMO, right? The joy of missing out. Like, I do not want, I'm like, please let me miss out. This is great. But if you're a person with the FOMO, right, with that fear of missing out, well, what if it could be better? Because I don't know. What if it could be better? What if it could be better? And then you're creating according to that story. And then to me, the when I start asking the what if questions, the what comes after that, I'm going to start looking for evidence of, right? So what if it could be better? That will translate really quickly to it could be better.
Yeah.
And that's a whole story. That's a whole story you don't want. That's a
Right.
whole story of discontent.
Yeah. And I want to say this because I have used language like that in my communication with people in terms of living a better life. And I want to be really clear right now. Like, there are times whenever you get in some really sticky, not good situations that feel like hell. It feels miserable. And in that, I would say, it could be better. I am not going to lie, it could be better. This is specifically about when we go put our hands on things that do feel good, but we don't let ourselves have good things.
Yeah.
In both cases, that's the thing that's underlying. I don't let myself have good things.
Yeah.
When it's terrible, I actually feel better that it's terrible because I'm so uncomfortable with it being good.
Yes.
And when it's good, let me see if I can make it better because good is not good enough.
Yeah.
And so like this is the thing for us to laugh at about ourselves, these silly little humans that we are, and go, look at us, we can't just be still and do nothing.
Yeah. In our culture, I think it's getting harder and harder and harder.
Mm-hmm.
Like I found it really challenging the first time I did that Brian Tracy, like 30 minutes. Okay, that can't be crazy. No, I was literally crawling out of my actual skin. It was hard. It was like every bit of programming that I had around that kind of stuff came up, right? It was like I could definitely be doing something better with my time. I could, name it. The story came up. But then I look at like the generations below me. Like I look at Gen Z, like the kids who grew up with internet and all of that kind of stuff. They have a really hard time
Oh
getting.
yeah, yeah, I don't even know if they could even find their way to it in most cases. I don't know. It's almost like they were born from it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
it's
it does seem like that. Like, yes, my daughter and I will be out on a hike, in nature, and we're walking along the trail. We both leave our phones in the car, all that kind of stuff when we're on the trail. Don't lecture me about danger. Plenty of people do. But we will walk by so many Gen Z kids and they're like this on the
right.
trail.
I know.
Like they're not, I'm like, what are you even doing? Like there's plenty of like just go walk on a treadmill. Like you could do that anywhere. You know what I mean? You could have your face buried in a screen literally anywhere. But they're
Yep.
walking the whole time like that. And it's insane to me. Like, okay, all right. Like you just cannot pull yourself. Like I guess I'm not taking in tons of nature when I'm walking through nature. It's there, but I'm always kind of like we walk in places with lots of tree roots and lots of lots of sketchy stuff you don't want to, you'll go flying if you're not paying attention. So I'm paying attention to where I'm putting my feet in front of me, but I'm always like I am going in. Like that is a time for me to kind of go within. And I cannot imagine like not being able to access that, which is what I think that we're seeing. Like this is why nervous system dysregulation sells, because when you can't pull yourself out of a screen or out of drama or out of whatever thing, right? Whatever thing is sucking your attention in, it is going to dysregulate you in a hurry.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, the reality is so many people have become familiar with dysregulation that they prefer it to anything that is actually regulating.
Yeah.
So this is where the conversation gets really spicy because it's like now we can actually like let's crack the door open a little bit and talk about how silly and nonsensical much of what is considered a regulation practice is all nonsense because it's just another loop to keep you outside of what you'd actually need to be in a state of awareness of self. If it's regulating you to the point that you become clearer in your thinking, more aligned, more aware, you should need it less.
Yes.
Because when you come into that state, I might get off into something controversial here. I don't know. But when you come into that state for real, and you and I both have had encounters in this way, there is a place where it's like, oh, when I actually pull away from all of these things that have screamed for my attention, my energy, and I pull myself out of that and I get still and I get quiet, that feels so good. I don't need to use 50 different tools to regulate myself on a regular basis because I understand, no, it's this simple. Do nothing. Do nothing. Yes, at first it's going to feel unfamiliar. At first, it probably will make you feel like you're going to just go nuts because your body is craving stimulation.
Yeah.
But when you rehearse it enough and you rehearse doing nothing enough, then that becomes the craving.
Yeah.
So then I don't need to do all these different things to calm down. The only reason I need those tools is because I've chosen I'm going to stay in the dysregulation. So let me have a little bump of calm in my dysregulation.
Yes.
That's what I'm actually saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Stress relief. Whenever people talk about that, oh, I'm doing this for some stress relief. That sounds very temporary and terrible to me, actually. Like, I don't want stress relieving practices. What do you mean? Like, I really want to be able to come back to myself. And here's the thing. This is a thing with meditation. It's a thing with this stillness sort of thing that you're talking about, Jody, is that when you start doing that and you get in touch with yourself, the things that are in your life that don't belong in your life are going to get real obvious real quick.
Real quick.
And it's going to get real uncomfortable. Ask how I know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I've decided in this moment I am going to say the controversial thing. So here's the thing. I told you that this the other day. I saw a post shared on Instagram, a woman speaking about her experience with people basically bad mouthing like medicine practices, and I'm talking about like ayahuasca and things like that, and how that they've had these, really scary experiences, and it just jarred them. It threw them into an experience that they were just like, that traumatized me or whatever. And I've heard this before. Um, what she was really saying is, the reality is that it's become so generic to access these things that actually have a very distinct purpose. And they're not supposed to be commercial. They're not supposed to be like, you can go to this place and have this experience and whatever. Like, there is a whole culture around it. Right. And so when you don't have that culture and you don't have that background, and then you just go play in it for a little bit because you heard it was cool, you will disorient yourself real, real good. And in most cases, because your intention is not pure.
Yeah.
Even if you're saying, I'm doing it because I want to have a spiritual experience. Sorry, honey bun, you don't know what that is. You don't know what it is. And you know why you don't know what it is? Because you're dysregulated all the time. So you're using it as a method of escape because you don't know how to sit with yourself. So she's giving her own opinion. This is my interjection into the experience because I have worked with lots of people who've done this stuff, people who've done it and fried themselves because of it, had really terrible experiences out of it. But her point was made, and it was just like, you're not plugged into the culture of this. You're not plugged into how this is properly approached. You're not plugged into a community that supports you. You're not plugged into those things. You're just going off to these retreats and you're going and doing these things, having whatever experience you're having, and then being like, I saw demons and I saw this, and she's like, no, you are not ready for it. You haven't been with yourself. And her argument was, I watch people do these things and badmouth it. And then they're going to go back to Christianity. They're going to go back to Jesus. They're going to go back to church. And she's like, that stuff traumatized them too. But it's
Yeah.
a little safer, a little more familiar, and it condemns the thing that scared them. And so it's like, let me go back there. And I sat there and I was like, this is a whole word, because you know what? I have had to watch people online do the whole new age to Jesus transition, new age to Christ, new age to Christianity. I've watched it happen over and over and over again. And I have said myself, if you had a revelation of Christ, if you had a true encounter with that thing, what it really is, you would never go to church again. You wouldn't. Look, I'm speaking from experience. I've been on both sides. And I'm telling you that when you have a real encounter with God, truly, you're not going and looking for church unless you fall right back into the fear that says, I don't know what that was. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that is going to do in my life that I've encountered this. I need someone else to help me understand this. Let me go to the place that I know is familiar. Why? Because you're still dysregulated, because you didn't let yourself be transformed in that experience. You didn't let real healing come. You just said, I'll go to what is familiar. I'll go to what I know. Personality stepped right back in and said, yes, church, let's do that. Jesus, Christianity, that's the answer. And then I've watched people who've actually had powerful transformational experiences in an encounter, in a moment of encounter. They were freed from a drug addiction. They were freed from some kind of horrible mental torment. They plugged themselves into church and tradition and Christianity in all of those organized ways that we know. And within a very short amount of time, they become some of the most dogmatic, most rigid, most like unable to see the truth kind of people. And their life tells a story. So it didn't create the healing and liberation that they ultimately wanted, because they just turned it into, this is my altar now. This is my new addiction. This is my new answer. It's got to be this, because I don't know how to sit with myself. I don't know how to be with myself, and I don't know how to be with God. And I'm bringing this in this conversation right now because when people tell me, oh, I used to do this thing, I used to, mess with crystals, and now it's all Jesus in the Bible. Or I'm just like, you didn't have a transformational experience. You didn't. You might have had something that made you feel convicted. It made you feel wrong.
Yeah.
But you didn't know how to be in that.
Yeah.
You didn't know how to be in that. It scared you. And you went back to something that is familiar and safe because you're still dysregulated.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's one of those things that's like, yep, I said what I said. Been around it enough. Are there maybe some exceptions to that? Probably, maybe. But I'm telling you right now, what's being broadcast, what's being put out in the big major spaces and has tons of followers and tons of likes, and yes, and I share this, and that's not coming from transformation. It's not, because they took an experience and then they built an altar out of it. And then they said, you know what, it fits in this mold. Let's just focus our attention in this way. This is something familiar. This is something tolerable. This is something people they can digest this better, and it has nothing to do with me getting real about myself. I'm telling you that when you get really clear about what's real about you, or you have an encounter where you get into such a regulated state that you are now open to receive information, insight, wisdom, when that touches you, you don't go back. You don't go back to that familiar stuff because you stand in a new place of power. And so this is just, again, touching on the thing that we started the conversation around, like, do nothing and heal. Like, do nothing and see what happens in your life. Do nothing and see how your body responds. Yes, at first it might not like it, but it's because we have conditioned it to be activated all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I'm just thinking about the people like when people are talking about all of the nervous system stuff and they're talking about creating structure. And I'm like, what are you creating it out of? Breath work? Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't like and I've seen a lot of stuff, a lot of orienting practices and a lot of like I've seen a lot of nervous system regulation stuff. I know what it looks like. Um, but I'm like, that's your structure. Those are just tools. Those aren't the structure. You know what I mean? Like being able to be with yourself, that creates structure.
Mm.
I don't know that anything else
Right.
does create structure. I think that's the only thing that creates structure.
Right. Right. And when we say structure, we're talking about stability.
Yeah.
We're talking about the thing that holds you, that makes you feel like I'm good. I'm good. You know, everything
Everything's going to be fine.
everything's going to be fine. All is well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I I understand. I understand that people go and they look for their all as well in a million different ways and in a million different places. And do I think there's benefit in being in community? Yes. And the caveat to that is in the kind of community that is actually about stability and knowing yourself and having some accountability in the way that you come at life and talk about yourself in the way of being responsible. You know, that kind of community I think can be really amazing and it can help you thrive for sure. But there are plenty of people who love to plant themselves in really shallow spaces and then can't figure out why their life is not growing and moving forward and unfolding and becoming more like they wanted to. It's like, well, you put yourself in the wrong place. Like you're tying yourself and bonding yourself to people and things and conversations that are just affirming your dysregulation or whatever you want to call that.
Yeah.
Your
Checking yourself into
instability.
the hospital and wondering why you're still sick.
Right. Right. It's all the things that we do that keep us bound to instability. And then we're like, but I want stability. And, we stay connected to all the things that make us feel lack. And then we're like, but I want to be abundant. It's like, well, you're going to have to change that, take a different approach. You're not going to find it in the systems of this world. How many times can we just, please, do we need to say this again? The systems of this world, the approaches that are formed inside this system are never going to bring you a complete release, a complete resolution. It's just going to keep you looking for the next thing.
Yeah.
You got to get outside of yourself. You got to get beyond the self that you think that you are, the self that you made. You got to get beyond the fucking need to constantly be activated.
Yeah. I mean, that's what the matrix is, right? It's just constantly running that code, like constant, constant. It's always going, it's always going. What happens if you pull yourself and stop and settle and are still?
It's the stillness.
There's a reason. There's a reason that everything looks like a distraction. Everything is fear and everything is catastrophe and everything is designed to pull our attention and our focus into a million different things, right? Like I just had a conversation with my son. It's all the crazy Epstein stuff is, you
Mm.
know, being released, whatever, being released. And
Uh,
right. And we're just kind of laughing about it. Like, and I mean, I'm not laughing about the subject matter or any of that, but I am laughing at people who do not see that these same people who are releasing this stuff, and I mean all of these people, are the same people responsible for it and are in the system. Like when we talk about things coming from the matrix and keeping you in the matrix, this is the kind of stuff we're talking about. Like I've seen so many people post recently about it, like, oh, this is just breaking my heart. This is just, and it's all kinds of like crazy stuff. And I'm like, you're literally feeding this thing.
Well, can we also just be like, why are you reading it?
Right.
I mean, what in the world has happened to us that it's like, I want to see it. And then we access it and we go, oh my God, look what they're doing to us. No, no, no. Why are you accessing it? Why
Right.
are you even entertaining that? It's hideous. We've all known it. I mean, maybe you didn't know, but listen, do you need to see it to know? Like, if
Right.
you're there, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that for you. I told Bo the other day, I said, I'm at the point in my life right now, I can see that there's this hoo-ha going on. I'm not going to read any of that stuff.
No.
I don't need to. You know why? Because we all knew. We've been new. Okay. We've been new that this was going on, that this is craziness, that they're pulling some nonsense. And you know what else? They lie about everything.
Yes. Period. Say that part. That's what everybody needs to hear. Everything.
Everything is made up to some extent. I am not here to dismiss people's experience. I'm not doing that. I'm just telling you it is not what you think it is. It is never what you think it is. And the sensationalism and the need to pull on your emotional heartstrings and all that other stuff and get you activated is all intentional.
Yes.
So, how about let's just get real about that right now. And I told Bo, I said, honestly, I'm at the point where it's like, if you're trying to fix the system or fight the system, you are part of the problem.
Yeah. In my house, we call it fix, fight, or fret. If I'm doing any one of those three F words,
Yes. Yes.
right? Those are the real F bombs in our house.
Yes.
We don't fight it, we don't fret about it.
Yeah.
Like, because any of those three things are feeding it the ultimate F word.
Yep. 100%. I have so many people that have been in my life throughout the span of my life who've been like, we need to fix this. We need to fix this thing. Or, somebody needs to stand up and fight against this. And I'm like, what? Fight what? What are you talking about? Oh, the thing that they told you, the big boogeyman that they made, that they are promoting, the boogeyman propaganda that they put out. You want to go fight that? No, take your attention away from it and destroy it. Literally, you want to destroy it? Remove your attention, remove your energy from it. It will disappear.
Yeah. If you don't believe, let's try it. Let's make a whole collective experiment out of it.
Try it and see what happens. Exactly.
Let's just try it. Let's just see. Yeah. If we're not feeding it, what happens to it?
Exactly.
Yeah. Because I'm like, there's a reason. There's a reason that we're fed this information. There's a reason that we're told certain things and when we're told them and how we're told them and all of that kind of stuff. That's all by design. And if we take our attention off of it and put it back here, remarkable things happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wonder how many victims would actually be saved because there'd be no gain in promoting these hideous actions or stories if nobody's in the Coliseum cheering anymore.
Right.
If everybody says, I'm not coming anymore, I'm not coming to this show is not for me, we ban the show. Guess what? They stop making it. It's not profitable anymore. And so that's why it's like when people want to get all, wound up about something, they want to spend their energy and their time speaking out against it, speaking about it, any of that. You are part of the problem. Start talking to people about what's real, what's true, and that is only what is love. And I'm not talking about a gushy feeling. I'm talking about a principle that cannot be altered. It can't be. And yeah, that's why we're having this conversation. It's like, listen, we're not going to spend our time focused on those things. We're going to talk about what's real, what's true.
Yep.
What happens if you pull yourself out of all of that chaos?
Yeah.
What happens if you pull yourself out of all the dramatic conversations you have on a regular basis?
Yeah. Who are you? Who are you then?
Mm-hmm.
And get excited about answering that question. Get excited about what comes up. That's exciting stuff. That's where our energy should be going. That's where our attention should be going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you live in a space and live in a life that you're like, Jody, if I did nothing, I would just be so depressed. I would say to you, then go do nothing somewhere you like to be. Change it, like change your scenery, change whatever, but do experiment with what it looks like to literally do nothing for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes. No activating any part of your brain or your thoughts or your feelings, not so that you can feel into yourself, literally just to do nothing.
Yep.
I wonder how fast people would heal.
It'd probably be crazy. I don't know. Let's all try it. If you
I'm
try
in.
to report back, let us know.
I'm in. All right. So with that, we'll leave you. Thanks for tuning in.